What's up, everyone? Howard Kingston here, entrepreneur, marketer, and co-founder of Growth Velocity Academy. In this episode, how do you grow your company using partnerships? So think of this like growth hacking for partnerships. Now, I've got a term for this. It's called tribal growth. And I'm going to be explaining exactly how it works and exactly how you can do it in this episode. Now, don't forget, do wait until the end. Do make sure you listen to all of the episode today, because not only is it full of really practical stuff that you'll be able to use, but also at the end, I'm going to share with you how you can get your hands on my toolkit full of my latest tools. And I've just updated it recently with all the latest tools I'm using right now for my marketing and my growth. You're going to find it super useful, and it's all yours for free. So let's talk partnerships. So partnerships are one of these things that when you're thinking about your marketing strategy and your growth strategy, why would you want partnerships in there? Well, when you're launching into the market, or maybe you're launching a product, you've already got a few customers. Well, the idea around partnerships is this. Like, I love partnerships because when you're launching a product, you want to build an audience around it. You need to build up an audience. And guess what, guys? So you probably realized this already. That takes time, that takes money, that takes effort, a lot of it. And it can cost. Some people grow an audience and they spend millions on that audience, growing that audience. Look at someone like Gary Vaynerchuk or Tony Robbins or someone like that. They built that audience and spent so much time on it. Now, you're going to have to build an audience. However, there is another way that can almost fast track it. And rather than you growing your own audience from scratch and spending money on it, etc., what if you were to almost borrow or tap into somebody who has already built exactly the audience of exactly the type of people and exactly type of ideal customers that you're looking for? That's the big idea I want to talk about in this episode, about hacking partnerships. And every business we've launched over the last few years, including Growth Velocity Academy. I remember whenever we launch into a new country, one of the first things I'll do is look at who are the partners in that region that I can partner up with that already have groups in my audiences. All right, so let's get cracking into talking about exactly how you do this. So tip number one is that you want to know your tribe, right? Find your tribe is tip number one. Now, what do I mean by tribe? Well, one of my favorite authors is this super smart dude called Seth Godin. And in one of his books, he talks about tribes of people. And he defines tribes of people as groups of people who are united by a shared interest and have a way to communicate together. Okay, a shared interest and way to communicate. So some examples. All right, so surfers have a shared interest. They love surfing and they have a way to communicate, and they communicate both through, there's online forums about surfing, there's holidays, you can go holiday camps about surfing, but they also communicate, they even have their own language. There's so many terms when it comes to surfing. I'm sure dude came from there. Maybe not, but you get the general idea. There's a lot of terms, and even they communicate through their fashion. They're all wearing certain types of clothes and things like that. You're a surfer person when you're doing that, right? So there's one example of a tribe. Let's do another example of a tribe would be growth hackers or growth marketers. Probably you. You have certain terms we use. We go to certain websites. We, are in certain forums. We watch certain YouTube channels. Hello, like this one, and podcasts like this one. And these are shared interests that you guys have and a way to communicate. So that's the idea. That's what a tribe of people is. Now, how do you find like-minded people? Because whatever customer you have for your product is you're going to have an ideal customer, and there's going to be places that that person hangs out. All right, whether it be online and offline, virtually and in real life. All right, and you need to know them. All right, so my tip here is really kind of think. Imagine you had a triangle. All right, and on the left of the triangle, write down the word go, places that they go. On the right hand side of the triangle, write down the word buy, things that they buy. And at the bottom, write down the word learn. Okay, so the top, let's go back to the top right of the triangle. Have a think of all the places that your target customer go to. Now, this is not just physical. It could be physical because they could be going to conferences. They could be going to events, but also to virtual places like communities. And here's the thing, guys. What you don't want to say is here like, oh, they go to the store or they go to the gym. Come on. In the lens and when they have the hat on of being your target customer. So let's say you have a product that's some kind of membership site for dog owners. Well, when the person is thinking like a dog owner, where do they go? Do they go to a dog meetup event every so often? Is there a dog conference? Is there a dog owners community? There is, and you should know about them. All right. So the first one is think about where online and offline. Don't be wishy-washy here. Don't say like Facebook. That's way too broad, guys. There's 4 billion people on Facebook. No, you want to know the exact names of the Facebook groups they're part of. Does this make sense? And the WhatsApp groups and the Slack communities. You want to know the exact names here. And if you don't know them, guess what? You got some work to do. So the first one is go. Where do they go virtually and in real life? Then on the right-hand side of the triangle, we said buy. Buy is what software are they buying? What subscriptions are they part of? What what things do they buy here? So anything that they are buying, maybe there's a tool they need to know. If it's a B2B, you're working on a B2B SaaS company, your ideal buyer, what other pieces of software are they using? All right, really, really think about that. I was speaking to a buddy recently and he's got a health app. And one of the key things, we were talking through this model, and one of the key things, like, I know that I'm actually a great potential ideal customer for him. And one of the things that I buy an Oura ring. I've got an Oura ring on my finger right now. And I know that I'm part of this 13,000 person Oura ring fitness tracker Facebook community, and all of these people most of them own this ring, and they will all be his ideal perfect customer. So he wants to know about that. If he didn't realize that his ideal customer uses this health tracking ring, he wouldn't know about the group, and then he couldn't kind of immerse himself in that community of 13,000 ideal customers. Okay, so next thing is write down a list of about 10 things that your ideal customer buys. And then the final one, bottom of the triangle, is learn. Now, when I say learn, I mean like consume media. Like, where are they, what podcasts are they listening to? What Instagram influencers are they following? What newsletters are they part of? So really kind of focus in on where are they consuming their media. Again, guys, not in general, more so about their job role or their whatever the niche is that your product is in. So that was tip number 1, is know and find your tribe. Tip number 2 is siphon off your tribe to where you are. Okay, so tip number 2 is siphon. What do I mean by siphon? Well, here's the thing. When I was growing up in Ireland, I grew up on a farm, and I remember one of the things I always used to do from a young age was we had a tractor lawnmower. Really, on a farm you have loads of grass, especially in Ireland, and it needs cutting all the time. And one of the jobs I got from an early age was cutting the grass on the tractor lawnmower. And I'd always cut it on a Saturday, and that was also the time that there was a football match on, and I'd want to watch the football match on the TV. So I remember one day being really excited because there was no petrol. And I was like, yes, we live miles away from the nearest garage. And at the time I wasn't able to drive, I was kind of maybe 13 or something like that. And I remember going up my dad and going, hey dad, we've no petrol, I can't cut the grass. And he was like, no problem. I'll get you some petrol. And he just walked over to the car, got a rope, like a hose, I should say, and put one end into the car and started sucking the other end. And next thing, as he sucked it, started sucking out some petrol because he had the other end in the petrol tank of the car. And as he sucked it, some petrol came out, and then he quickly took the the hose out of his mouth and brought it down below the level of the tank. And guess what? The petrol just kept on flowing out. And this is like a 13-year-old kid. I was like, whoa, what is going on? Is this magic? But no, that's what's called siphoning. Okay, it's a word, it's a term called siphoning. And, some of you will know what I'm talking about. Some of you might not know that actually is a thing, that works. Now, I want you to think of my dad siphoning petrol through the lens of the tribes of people that you've just discovered. Because earlier, remember we were talking about finding tribes of people who are your ideal customer. Well, that is that once you've done that, you now have this long list of potential partners that would be great for you to partner with. Maybe you've got 10, 20, 30 potential partners. And what you want to do is now siphon customers from there over to your product. Okay, attach your product to that group of people some way. Now, how might you do that? Well, I'll give you one example. There's many ways you can do that, and we talk about this a lot in my programs. But one of the things one way you can do it is a very famous story from Airbnb. Airbnb did this very famously, and it's kind of like a really kind of like infamous growth hack now. And what they did was the founder of Airbnb, at the time, Airbnb wasn't doing so well, and the founder went out and started interviewing some of his ideal customers. And he, the type of person he was trying to get to was somebody who, when they went on holidays, they didn't rent a hotel. No, they wanted to rent a home. So it was like home holiday rentals. Okay, it was kind of like a niche of the travel industry at the time. And when he was interviewing these people that were renting these places, he always asked, like, where did you go to find the rental? And they kept on saying the same thing. They all kept on coming back and saying Craigslist. All right. And now this is unusual. He didn't know about the website at the time. He's like, huh. So when he went at home and he went back to the office and he clicked on the Craigslist website, and he saw on the website, there was this like subsection of the website that specifically had holiday rentals. And everyone was posting their homes up there. Now, this made him excited because when he saw it visually, the photos were terrible. They were all taken with like Nokia 5110 cameras. They looked like a scene from Hostel, the movie. And this made him excited because Airbnb always had professionally done photos, and he knew they would really stand out well if people could see them. So if you think about it, Airbnb was here as the equivalent of the car full of petrol, and so Craigslist was here and it's the equivalent of car full of petrol, and Airbnb was here as like the empty petrol can. And he found a way to siphon the petrol from one to the other. And how he did that was whenever someone posted a property onto Airbnb, he had a team member repost that exact listing, like quite literally copy and paste onto the Craigslist website. And what people would do is they go onto the Craigslist website, they'd scan it, they'd see the beautiful photos. Naturally, you're going to click on that one. And as they scan through the listing, it said to book this property, click here. And when someone clicked there, guess where they went? Yeah, they went to Airbnb. And they kept on doing this consistently. He ended up building out a whole team of people just reposting stuff onto Craigslist. And it was their main growth channel for a long, long time, until eventually Craigslist realized it and they made it against the conditions. But at this point, they'd already had thousands of users, more tens, hundreds, thousands of users brought over to Airbnb. And people just started going to Airbnb at this point. The behavior was changed. So that's tip number 2. Siphon your tribe from your partner over to your product. Okay, and then tip number 3 is systemize the scaling. Systemize the scaling. So, like any good marketing and growth strategy, you need to systemize it to scale it. And in this occasion, once you've kind of gone through the strategies I've just been talking about, like at this point, you'll have a great list of partners that you can reach out to. And you also have a way to come up with some ideas how to siphon people from one product to yours. Now you need to systemize it. All right. And the idea I want you to think of here is the idea of the Dream 100. Now, the Dream 100 is something that Chet Holmes talked about in his book, The Ultimate Sales Machine. It's a great book, highly recommend it. And he talks about getting this spreadsheet and listing out 100 names of people that you want to partner with. You may not be partnering with them right now, but in the future you want to. So you want to go back over the exercises we've been talking about and build out that list of 100 names. All right. And when you've built out that list of 100 names, you want to segment them into like the different ways you're going to be approaching them, because some of them will be huge. Like someone might be someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? And that's totally cool. Like these are a list of 100 people that you want to partner with over the next few years. It's not right now. It's over the next 5 years as you're growing your business into a multi-million-dollar company. And you want to have these lists. Now, make sure you put people in there that are the right people, not just for, not just for ego reasons. But let's just say, for example, Gary Vaynerchuk is the right person in there. Well, you want to segment them up and approach a different group of people in different ways. So, for example, some people on that list you might be wanting to get introductions to. Some of them are maybe quite small and you're okay just reaching out to them directly. But you want to systemize it into a spreadsheet, which you want to call the Dream 100. And then you want to systematically spend time reaching out to those people. Ninja tip, maybe you want to get somebody in your team, maybe a junior marketer or someone in the growth team to run that process for you. So they're reaching out to people, for example, to get you interviews on a podcast that you have on the Dream 100 list, or, to reach out to a journalist who's on the Dream 100 list. Just make sure that you really have a good process for them to follow. That's a really important part of handing something off like this to a team member. Okay, so guys, in this episode, what we've been talking about is tribal growth marketing, how to really grow through and scale through partnerships. We talked about 3 key areas there. 1 is to find your tribe, 2 is to siphon to your product, and 3 is to systemize to scale. All right. So guys, hopefully this has been useful. I've been using this for years. Personally, it's had a massive impact on all my companies, and really hope that you take action on this too. If there's somebody else that would benefit from this, do tag them, to send them this so we can impact more people. And as I promised at the start of this episode, I have a copy of my toolkit, my book called The Growth Toolkit, which I'm going to include in the show notes. And I've recently updated it and has all the latest marketing hacks and tools and books I recommend, and I use every single day in my marketing team. So I recommend you check that out. It's in the notes below and you can get it for completely free. Okay, guys, peace out, and I'll see you in the next episode.